Hi, welcome back to the Casual Reader Book Club. We are starting our discussion this week on the first third of the book called Black-Eyed Susans. And this particular book, I found surprising that you suggested it because it really is more of a thriller. Mm-hmm. And that's usually not like your...
I prefer mysteries, usually, yeah.
Yeah.
This is one that I heard highly recommended on several different channels on BookTube. And so I kind of took notice of it, and I had a copy of it. And when we were looking for things for this fall, I know you love thrillers, so I suggested it. So I thought it would be one that you would enjoy.
And this one, I would call it more a psychological thriller.
I prefer psychological thrillers.
And I think that's what this one is so far. Mm. You know, the jury's still out. Who knows? In the middle of the book, it might turn into a traditional thriller. But I kind of feel like it's going to stick with the psychological thriller angle. So our main character was the lone survivor of a serial killer. Mm-hmm. And she was actually buried. And I'm going...
I don't even know how she functions. I mean, the thought of waking up and realizing that you have been buried alive with corpses of other girls. How on earth do you function in the morning?
I don't really know how to answer that question. You know, it's why I'm being cremated. I really don't want to be buried.
Well, in her case, though, it was a good thing if you buried him. Because that was one very interesting thing, that she survived because he thought she was dead. Because she has such a genetically low heart rate. Yeah.
And respiration.
Yeah.
Mm. Even with that, I'm telling you. Yeah. Cremation. Not going to be buried. And not, of course, in this particular book. It's good that he buried her, and it's good that she survived, and it's good somehow. And we don't know really yet about how was she found being buried with that corpse.
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, and there's questions in this part about when one of them died, because she has memories of one of them talking to her.
Yes. And that goes back.
And the therapist is like, I think you hallucinated that. You know, your mind was creating that. And she's like, no, I think it was real.
Mm-hmm. Because she knew the girl's parents' name. She had all kinds of details, and they keep telling her that the girl was already dead. But in actuality, was she?
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't.
Because she wasn't. And on top of that, they're in this enclosed, very tight space, and their faces are pressed almost up against each other because of the situation that they were in, and she could see her and could feel her moving around. So, I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that one. Was the girl that was with her really dead the entire time or not? Is still definitely out.
Well, and of course, the other aspect to it is that someone was arrested for the crime. Mm-hmm. And there's big questions, it seems, even though he was convicted, on whether or not he is guilty. And as the reader, we're going, I don't think he's guilty unless he's got somebody out planting flowers for him, because wherever she goes, somebody ends up planting flowers under her window.
Or where she can see them from her window.
Yeah.
Yes.
Out of season, so that she knows that somebody did this. Goodness.
Yeah. That's the scary part. They're totally out of season. It's not the heat of the summer. Like, it's usually, June? And black-eyed Susans are in full bloom.
You're the flower person.
June, mid-June-ish even, before they start blooming. So, yeah, to have them blooming in November, that's an issue. Somebody did that.
Yeah.
Somebody did that. And, of course, we find out that they're underneath where these plants were buried. They buried clues or
at least one time.
Things.
She hasn't investigated every time, but
she hasn't.
I think that's what she was trying to do at the end of this section. She was going back, digging back in places, but she did find something that gave her great pause and is the reason that she's not really been cooperative with the investigation, which makes me wonder how much she really does remember, because I get the feeling that I go back and forth. How much does she remember? Because when I saw the note, I thought, oh, she might actually remember quite a lot, and she's not saying anything because of the threat that was in the note. But then in times when she's thinking about, she doesn't remember. So I don't know. That's a little confusing to me. But yeah, it turned out there was a threat to her best friend, who's what got her through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Her best friend and her father. And had her grandfather died, or was he part of the beginning? Because I know he died eventually, but I can't remember if he was still alive. But her father and her best friend were the ones that got her through the whole experience. And she said her best friend in particular, because she was the only one who treated her in the same way that she did before the kidnapping.
And I just think that has to be a challenge.
Yeah.
It has to be a challenge to know that here you are. You're kidnapped by a serial killer, left for dead. I can't imagine. I just really, really, really can't imagine.
No, it's very disturbing.
I like her daughter.
Yes.
But do you know where my mind keeps going?
To your nieces?
No. No. It keeps going to who is the father of these children? Of this child.
Well, he's military. He's in Afghanistan, supposedly.
That's what she keeps saying. But I worry about whether or not, because she was very young. Mm-hmm. Mathematically, when you start doing doing the math, it seems like this event, her being left for dead, and the child thing occurred relatively quickly.
So he might not actually be
the biological. Mm. And it could be that he is, and I'm reading more into the situation, but it just seems that her pregnancy occurred relatively quickly after being left for dead. And it could be, it's not unheard of for people to move on that quickly.
Well, trying to just grasp the life,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and she said it wasn't a serious relationship. It was kind of more a ongoing, casual thing.
Yes.
For both of them.
Yes, for both of them. So, and in that, yeah, you can understand that, especially after having been in a situation such as this. Mm-hmm. You can see that.
Yeah, because she might not think she's capable of dealing with an actual
person.
An actual committed relationship.
Yeah. Long term, it would be difficult in her situation, I would think. And the other thing that's freaking me out is that her best friend from high school pretty much disappeared from her world.
Yeah.
Without a trace.
And has recently sent her a note.
Yeah. So I'm a little weirded out by that.
That you go ahead and kill her and still hanging that over her head. Mm-hmm. And of course, you immediately think of the worry for the daughter, because, that would be, you would think, other than actually getting Tessa herself, because that's unfinished business, the next most juicy target for him is the daughter.
Yes.
And she sounds like she looks like her mom, same color hair and everything, so that's what he likes. Mm. Yeah, very creepy.
Very, very creepy. Well, I will have to say, the beginning of this book, I have really enjoyed the beginning of this book overall, and I think it's going to be a very interesting second part.
Yeah, and also I like the character of the new forensic anthropologist who is working. She seems like a good person. I like her.
I didn't like her psychologist, the male psychologist.
Now, that was one of my running theories. Is like when you find out she's blind with this hysterical blindness. I hate the word hysterical, but that's what they usually. I don't know. They used to call it that. Hopefully, they don't call it that anymore. But the psychological blindness. Let's call it that. And when she couldn't see him, I was like, how do you know that's not him? How do you know that's not the killer who's sitting there talking to you? That just because she couldn't see him, and that just really freaked me out. So when she could see him, but then I was worried because I thought, well, maybe she would know. But then I realized she's still, if she doesn't actually remember, it still could be. So it's really freaky.
I think the whole thing really, quite frankly, is very freaky. The whole thing. It's kind of scary.
Not quite sure about her, well, not her, but the guy's lawyer who's working with the forensic anthropologist. He seems very gung-ho and everything, but I think like her, I'm reserving judgment about him.
Yes, to get a little further into it.
Yeah.
Well, I think for the next part of our book, we're going to read until what page?
I think it's 230.
Okay. Or if you're reading on a reading device, it will be about 66%. Right around 66%.
I think it started, that chapter started with 26 days before the execution.
So, hopefully you will join us, enjoy the book, and if you have any questions for us that you want us to address, you can just email us on our LibGuide.